Hey everybody, welcome to the show. Run the Nation right here, TYT Nation. Jeff Waldorf here with you on this Wednesday evening. So, got a great show for you guys today. Hopefully you stay for the next hour. We've got fun stuff. We've got Tucker Carlson and Pete Buttigieg. That's fun. Then we have, of course, disaster when it comes to Yemen. So I'm going to talk a bit about that and Donald Trump's recent decision on that. Then we've got Fox News basically admitting why they're afraid of Bernie Sanders. That's fun. Donald Trump on Ilhan Omar. That's also disastrous. And then Twitter makes fun of Ted Cruz. Fun. Okay. So, yeah, we got fun stuff on the show today. But first, we have an announcement. Very important announcement to make. We have selected and purchased a camera. Yes. So now for quite some time, a couple of months, we've been running a fundraiser. It's the GoFundMe.com/TYT Nation camera. I've been asking you guys to donate to go and get us a new camera, to help us basically go and film things on location. Like, for example, when Bernie Sanders comes back to Michigan, I'd like to be able to film that in good quality. And so we raised money. We raised about $1,336, which is great. That's a lot. Thank you guys for donating. So what I did is that I took the money today and combined it with some of my own personal money and bought a new camera as well as a carrying case and a way to have it interface with my computer. So I'm going to try to replace that webcam that I'm currently using with that camera. I'll see if that works. Hopefully it does. If it doesn't, of course, we'll also be we'll mainly be using that then in that case for live events and things like that. So it's going to be great. So I'm looking forward to being able to show you guys. I get it on Friday. It's supposed to get here, so maybe I'll get it in time for the show. We do a little behind the scenes and things like that. So we've got that camera, as I said, is on the way. And it's really, really nice. It's a Canon. So it's a handheld. It's a camcorder, and I'm really excited, man. I'm excited to get it, and I'm really excited to show you guys because that's what you bought. So you guys have done so much for the show, so much for me, and I can't thank you guys enough for doing that. So thank you so much. All right. So yeah, again, super exciting. Now, speaking of donations, the fundraiser is still up, and the limit was at like $1,500. So if you want to donate any more for like things like accessories to go along with it, like for example, memory cards and additional chargers and things like that, I wouldn't be against it. I'm just saying, wouldn't be against it. But yes, thank you so much for doing that. I also want to thank the donors. Patreon.com/TYT Nation. You guys continue to fuel the show. So that's why we're still going on that as well. And I would actually like to get more patrons. I'd like to get up to at least 500 patrons. So we're at 300 something. Thank you so much. You guys are incredibly dedicated. And I appreciate each and every one of you. But we need to get more so that we can continue to grow. So the fundraiser is fantastic because it really shows me actually how dedicated you guys are to helping this show achieve more potential. And I'd like to continue that growth. So I am owned by the donors. That would be you guys. So thank you so much. You are the show. You are the TYT Nation. So, yeah, lots of fun stuff, lots of exciting things coming into the future of the show. All right, anyway, so with that, I don't have it up right now, but I do want to thank some patrons. I'll probably do that later on in the show when I have things all kind of, going on. But anyway, so actually, I don't know if I said this, but new channel member, Nelly Hunt. So thank you, Nelly. All right. Now let's get into fun. Let's start with Tucker Carlson. Oh boy. Already, you know this is going to be both fun / ridiculous. All right. Please like and share the stream if you haven't already. All right. Now let's go. A lot of people are worried on social media about Tucker Carlson after he made some very odd statements about presidential candidate Pete Buttigieg. Now, Pete Buttigieg, he's been getting a lot of media attention by the establishment, by corporate media. They love him. And look, he's well-spoken in several different languages. He's young. He's part of the LGBT community. And so he checks off a lot of boxes for the establishment. And so, they like him. Now, for me, I'm super skeptical. He doesn't have any policy proposals. And, of course, I think that's part of the establishment's love of Mayor Pete. But now, Tucker Carlson had a little bit of a different take on Mayor Pete. Let's watch.
They want to consume him like a hearty stew. Every last drop of Buttigieg. Yum. They're all in.
So I guess that's more of a critique of media. Nonetheless, that was a little strange. I mean, did anybody else feel a little bit uncomfortable watching that? Though, if you felt uncomfortable with that, you're going to feel really uncomfortable with this.
Every last drop of Buttigieg.
Every last drop of Buttigieg. Every last drop.
I'm sorry. I had to. Now, naturally, there's a lot of people that are a little creeped out about Carlson, what he said. And others, of course, saw it as an attack against Buttigieg's sexual orientation. Buttigieg is gay, and if he somehow became the Democratic nominee and became president, he would be the first LGBT member of, or LGBT president. Okay, so now let me be clear here. Now, I have my own criticisms of Mayor Pete. He's not with me, for example, on policy, Medicare for all, free college, etc. I think that's pretty much enough to not get my vote, at least when it comes to the primaries. But he was also involved in some high-level establishment meetings with Neera Tanden, Chuck Schumer, Nancy Pelosi, to try to find a way to stop Bernie Sanders from becoming the nominee. For me, no thanks. No thanks, Pete. Look, he seems like a nice enough guy, but none of the reasons I'm against Mayor Pete have anything to do with how nice he is or him being a member of the LGBT community. I actually hope that one day we do have a LGBT president so that there are people that can feel that representation. And I think that matters. But for me, if you're not for progressive policy on top of that, then I'm not going to be interested in you. And I'm sorry. That said, let's go to making fun of Tucker Carlson now. Now, Rex Hupke says, and this is making fun of Tucker Carlson, obviously. I'm very tempted to write an entire column about how much I want to devour Pete Buttigieg. The response was, he's married, Tucker. He's not into you. That is true, I'm assuming. Now, I'm not even going to say that Twitter handle. I'm sensing a serious man crush. Sorry, Tucker. Mayor Pete is an absolute delight, but he's happily married. Hey, look, it's 2019. If you do have a man crush on Pete Buttigieg, I don't care. We're all progressives here. I mean, you're not, but we are. So we don't mind. And I mean, come on.
Every last drop of Buttigieg.
Every last drop of Buttigieg. Every last drop.
I'm going to have to put that on my soundboard. I mean, come on, man. Reader Adrift says, he looks like he abhors gay people even more than he abhors women in POC. So that's, of course, an attack, assuming that this is an attack on his sexuality, which it could be, definitely. Now, Gary Bedard says, Dem darling, oh, I can't wait for the onslaught of veiled homophobic puns like this one. Will Pixie Pete fly into the White House? Will Buttigieg make America a fairy wonderland? I'm not against any of those things, but really, I really wish Pete Buttigieg was better on Medicare for all and free college and progressive priorities. Then, great. That'd be awesome. But look, with Tucker Carlson, no, it's gross. There's actually no room for these kinds of attacks. And so, fun aside, we know what Tucker is saying. We know who he's talking to. We know people who are bigoted and anti-gay. And look, there's no excuse for it. And I'll actually defend, Mayor Pete against these attacks because, well, we're progressive and we actually care about this stuff. And we don't like these sort of terrible homophobic attacks. So, in fact, I've got a post here that kind of shares how I feel about Mayor Pete. And it's from Tanya Singh. Now, she writes, Pete Buttigieg's unity and service type of messaging and campaign rubs me the wrong way. I get that he's trying to distinguish himself in the pack that ranges from center-right to progressive, and his strategy is working out, of course, he's getting all that media attention. People who don't find themselves fighting economic, social, environmental, and racial battles will be attracted to his campaign. And, of course, that means people, who are more wealthy, who are better off economically, and the pundit class. Well, they look at him and they see maybe a young JFK or more like an Obama type of figure in Pete Buttigieg because he's talking about unity. He's talking about platitudes. He's saying, you know what, we need less policy focus and we need more unity focus. And again, I'm not interested in that. I'm not interested in unity, especially with people like Mitch McConnell. No, for Republicans, I want to crush Republicans. I want to destroy them and then bathe in their tears. That's what I want to do. And then maybe later on, they can come to us for, bipartisanship. Okay? They can come to us on policy. So I'm not interested at all in that message, but it does appeal very much so to older liberals who are actually doing very well. In fact, Singh continues, she says, he's talking to the liberals who want peace and nationalism more than justice and equality. Pete is the candidate for well-off boomers who like charismatic young candidates like JFK and Bill Clinton. Pete is playing the personality game, and it's working for a large chunk of voters who go by that. That's right. Now, she notes, since she is a part of a marginalized community, unfortunately for him, marginalized communities are finally starting to feel empowered by the electoral system and are asserting their issues. Pete isn't the guy for us. But, she adds, that said, I will defend him against any homophobic attacks. And that's generally how the young, diverse, progressive base feels about Pete Buttigieg. Other comments on that thread from fellow progressives said, totally agree, I don't like his policies at all, but leave he and his husband alone. They are adorable, which they are. He is a nice guy, another comment, and I'm trying to be nice, but his policies are pretty empty and his record not so good as far as I can tell. So you look into his record when he was mayor of South Bend, he actually did govern on more of the conservative side. And so, and how he dealt with, for example, the homeless population and trying to revamp and actually demolish, I think, over 1,000 homes that, in South Bend, that's kind of a terrible policy. And it did not help the homeless population in that area. But this commenter continues, I will defend him, though, from the hate mongers. I do take joy in seeing him make them uncomfortable, though. And that way, his campaign is good. I agree. And so, look, this is how real progressives view Pete Buttigieg, right? Now, they think, I like him as a person, his identity, I will defend him. But when it comes to policy, which I think is the most important thing here, he just doesn't seem to measure up. And I think that's an incredibly fair criticism. I share in that criticism. And look, this is a presidential primary. It's a Democratic primary. And we need to find that candidate that identifies with us most. And if you're an older boomer or someone who's more into Pete Buttigieg, God bless, right? Go ahead, go forward and back the candidate that you think represents you the most. I don't feel represented. But if you're an LGBT American and you do, that's fine. That's fine. That's fine. And just note that progressives, even though we don't agree with him on the policies, we will step up and we will defend our own against the vicious, hateful attacks from the GOP. And so this clip with Tucker Carlson, this is how Carlson, the right wing, view him. And so you can see that they're not the same as progressives. Progressives will stand up. We will fight for to protect his identity while still calling him out on the issues. That's what you're supposed to do. Okay. Moving on. We got more Fox News. All right. So Bernie Sanders recently had a town hall on Fox News that did not go as Fox News expected. It turns out Bernie Sanders brought down the House. He got a lot of people assuming, we assumed that they were Trump supporters or Republicans to cheer for Medicare for All. It was actually one of the highest rated town halls since it was on Fox News, with reaching about 2.55 million people. So incredibly highly rated. And in it, he, again, brought down the House, had a lot of great answers on a lot of things, and ended up getting the crowd at the end. So now Fox News says, oh my God, what have we done? Now, most of the guests on Fox since then were talking about how, Bernie's bad, his policies are going to destroy the economy. But one Fox host does admit something rather uncomfortable, and it's really what they're afraid of when it comes to facing down Bernie Sanders and a potential Bernie Sanders versus Donald Trump match in 2020. Let's watch.
The danger of Bernie Sanders and his movement is that a lot of these policies on their face are popular with the American people. And that's what makes them so dangerous, because of the economic toll they would take on this country. So President Trump's best saving grace is to have a strong economy, to say, look, we don't want anyone taking us in a different direction. We're on the right path. The economy is strong. It's booming. People are doing better. That's President Trump's best saving grace against these types of policies. Also being able to take it a step further and explaining why these policies are bad. But the way I look at Bernie Sanders, if you think about a crowded primary field, there's 20-something people on the stage. Who's the person that's going to draw attention? Who's the person that's the most unique? Well, there's not a lot of daylight between the candidates on the policy issues. It's going to be the candidate that stands out the most, the one that can generate the kind of excitement. And Bernie Sanders is the only one that's generating this kind of excitement. A week after he announced, he boasted the fact that he had a million people sign up to volunteer for his campaign in every congressional district around the country. What other candidate is doing that?
All right, so look, she got a couple of things factually wrong, but overall, she's like, we're afraid of Bernie. He is a danger because of populism. No, see, they're not popular on their face. They're popular. Those policies are incredibly, you go down poll after poll after poll. Those policies are consistently popular, not just on their face. Now, I know they'll bring up questions like, well, yeah, but when you say it's going to eliminate your private insurance, well, and then the popularity goes down a little bit. Yeah, but the questions really do matter when it comes to that, and the framing, of course. Now, if you say, look, we're going to eliminate private insurance, but we're going to replace it with something better and cheaper, then poll results would obviously be a lot better than we're going to get rid of your private insurance. So, and look, even at the town hall, Sanders had, or I should say Brett Baer had asked, hey, look, how many of you have private insurance? Well, people raise their hand. A lot of people raise their hand through work. Now, who would be willing to trade that in for Medicare for All? And there was an enormous show of hands. So that shows you that there's a lot of people, even though they have private insurance, would love to have a Medicare for All system because they know it's cheaper, they know it's better, and they know it would be more comprehensive than private insurance. And plus, it would give you the freedom of being able to choose what career you're going to and not have it being dictated by what job you have. So they can actually leave those positions. And of course, there's more. They talk about, there's the economic toll. Okay, well, I'll get into the economics, actually. But first, there's actually something else that I wanted to address before getting into that conversation. And that's how crowded the primary field is. She said, if you think about a crowded primary field, there's 20-something people on the stage. Who's the person that's going to draw attention? Who's the person that's most unique when there's not a lot of daylight between the candidates on policy? But wait a minute, there is actually a lot of daylight when it comes to, for example, single payer. Great example. Bernie Sanders has a plan that would basically eliminate the need for private insurance. Now, private insurance would exist for elected procedures like nose jobs, boob jobs, probably hair plugs, I don't know, stuff like that, right? But anything that is covered by Medicare for all would not be able to be covered by private insurance. It would ban private insurance from being able to actually offer coverage on that because it would be unnecessary duplicative coverage, right? It wouldn't be necessary. And besides, these insurance companies wouldn't actually be able to compete. So that's Bernie Sanders' plan. Now, the other plan floated by some of these other candidates, or at least that they showed that they were open to, is a Medicare for all option, which isn't actually Medicare for all. It's not actually single payer. It's basically the rebranding of a public option. Wouldn't get rid of private insurance. That's actually not a small difference. That's a huge difference. Huge, huge, huge. And then, of course, you go to some of the other policies. For example, corporate taxes. Elizabeth Warren is incredibly aggressive on trying to reduce income and wealth inequality through taxing corporations and the rich. That's very different from some of the other proposals. So there is some daylight. And so there's a lot of difference here. The field for the Democrats ranges between center-right to massively progressive. And I think there are two people that are the most progressive, and that's Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren. So there's that. Now, and of course, the reason that Bernie Sanders is really standing out is because he was the first to champion these policies, and he's the one that actually got the word out, and he's the one that I think that's the most honest about it. And so he's been very, very consistent through his long career in trying to promote these policies. It's a great reason that he stands out. Plus, he was able to challenge Hillary Clinton, make up a near 60-point lead, and come in second in the last presidential primary fight. So he got millions of votes, lots and lots of delegates. And so, yeah, that's another reason that he stands out. Now, there's one more here, and then that's, of course, the policy, right? So we go back to the policy. Now, she says it's the policies that make him dangerous. Yeah, of course. And you know what? She says it as if it's a bad thing. Well, to them, it is a bad thing if you're not with the American people. Again, Medicare for all, 70% approval. Free college for all, around the same. Living wage, 60% approval. Green New Deal, 80% approval. Jobs program, all these policies are incredibly popular. Now, she brings up, yeah, but, it's actually going to be economically dangerous. And so that's why Trump has to say, well, I have a good economy, so we don't want to change. So now that's very interesting, right? So she comes at it from the perspective of, well, things are already going fantastic for us. Why would anybody want to change? But, I don't want to change. And so we need to make that message. But see, to you, everything is going fantastic because you're part of the 1%. There's nobody on that TV that doesn't make less than $1 million. Guaranteed. Probably multi-million dollars, right? And so a lot of these people are incredibly disconnected with what's going on for regular people. Now, Bernie Sanders, he's now a millionaire. He sold a bunch of books after 2016. But remember, before that, he was the poorest member of Congress. And yes, when you work for Congress, when you serve in Congress and you get $147,000 a year, and then you sell a bunch of books, yeah, of course you're going to make money. That does not make him any less receptive to what regular people have been through, and it doesn't at all impact his message. And so there's that. And so the attack, of course, on that, using his wealth against him, is, of course, a bit disingenuous. But again, we are talking about Fox News, right? So, but yeah, speaking of the economic toll, right? Medicare for all, these policies, they save money, right? Numerous studies have pointed that out, including a Koch brothers study. Free college would replace the system of federal loans and grants. And look, that system is already incredibly expensive. And so you replace that with a system that guarantees free college through, grants and things like that. Just one giant grant program. I'm not exactly sure 100% how it would look like, but it would be basically the government subsidizing schools. Now, the good thing about that is that they could actually lower the price by using that pressure, right? They could use their leverage, the fact that they're the government, to bring down the costs. So a lot of these programs do save a lot of money. And of course, Bernie Sanders, if you're worried about it, would look to raise taxes on the wealthy through various means. And yes, for Medicare for all, there would be a payroll tax. And guess what? That payroll tax would actually end up being less that you pay in premiums and copays and deductibles. And you know why it would be cheaper? Because you would be getting the profit motive out of healthcare and education. You get the profit motive out of banking, and you end up saving billions of dollars from the taxpayer. But see, here's the thing. Who would be against that? Well, it would be the donors. It would be the corporations. This is why cable news, Fox News, CNN, MSNBC, that's why all the pundits are attacking these proposals. It's bad for their donors, and it's bad for them. As I mentioned before, nobody on that screen isn't a multimillionaire. Far wealthier than someone like Bernie Sanders, and they're scared because they're thinking, we're going to get taxed more. Yeah. And you know what? That position is very popular with the American people. So now they're holding onto their money extra tight. That is why they're so scared of Bernie Sanders, because they're scared of actually somebody being able to tax them fairly. And so, in this, combined with the fundraising, combined with the polling, a recent Emerson poll has put Bernie Sanders at the top of the field above Joe Biden. The million people volunteer army that Bernie Sanders has in every state, or I should say from every state across the country. And now this town hall, where you got an amazing reception, has literally put the fear in them. And they don't know what to do. Okay. Moving on. Excuse me. The war in Yemen continues to rage, threatening to starve millions of innocent people. And so it is continuing. The Saudi-led bombing campaign has already claimed the lives of tens of thousands of innocent civilians ever since it started. And on Tuesday, the president has continued to support our role in it. Now, Trump, it's being reported, vetoed bipartisan legislation that would have reduced and ended our role in that conflict. Now, speaking to reporters in a statement accompanying his veto, Trump said, "The resolution is an unnecessary, dangerous attempt to weaken my constitutional authority, endangering the lives of American citizens and brave service members both today and in the future." Now, wait a minute. How does it endanger us? For one, our service members aren't even in Yemen. And if they are, what the hell are they doing there? So they shouldn't be there. And I think there are a lot of people, there's a lot of people, progressives and others otherwise, that are not in favor of having our military assist in Yemen, especially when we're assisting on the side of Saudi Arabia. Now, again, going back to the question, why, how does us ending that endanger us at all? No, look, the president shouldn't be having the ability to go and provoke wars in the Middle East or in other places without a declaration of war. That's one of the powers that unfortunately Bush got and abused after 9/11, and President Obama had also received and abused. And so now Trump has it, and he's continuing to do these attacks and also support the Saudi regime. It's a terrible situation, and of course, look, it comes back to this complicated situation where, I'm assuming John Bolton, Mike Pompeo are telling Trump, no, you got to help the Saudis because the Saudis are against Iran, and the Iranian government is backing the Houthi rebels. The thing is, though, they haven't attacked us. Iran hasn't attacked us. The Yemenis, the Houthi rebels, haven't attacked us. But you know what country did attack us? Saudi Arabia. Or at least people from Saudi Arabia. They perpetrated 9/11. So, but no, we're going to be in the side of Saudi Arabia. The people who are spreading the most conservative, fundamentalist interpretation of Islam in the Middle East. Great. Now, it's a BS excuse, right? And of course, there's a big betrayal in that first sentence, and it shows why he's against it. He said it's a dangerous attempt to weaken my constitutional authorities, but you don't have that constitutional authority. You were given that because Congress refused to do their job, so they invoked the War Powers Act to actually get that back. What you're doing right now is unconstitutional. Now, the House and Senate both passed this bill that uses the War Powers Resolution of 1973, which gives Congress the power to remove military forces from a conflict from which there has been no formal declaration of war. So, look, and the fact that this is bipartisan is really important because 7 Republican senators have broke ranks with their party leaders, with Mitch McConnell. So credit where credit is due, right? There are some Republicans out there that don't believe that we should be backing Saudi Arabia in their genocide in Yemen, especially after they murdered journalist Jamal Khashoggi. Sorry about that. So Trump, having ties to Saudi Arabia, decides he's going to continue to help Saudi Arabia with that genocide in Yemen. And that should be disastrous to anyone. It is a monstrous decision. Now, there are people out there that thought, oh, no, Donald Trump, he's going to be an anti-war president. That didn't turn out that way. He can't help himself because he believes that I've got to be strong. I have to be strong. Well, how do I show that I'm strong? I know, I bomb people. That's what this is, right? So now he's gotten a lot of backlash, which he should. Senator Bernie Sanders first, who has long been critical of this conflict in Yemen, said this, quote, I'm disappointed but not surprised that Trump has rejected the bipartisan resolution to end the U.S. involvement in the horrific war in Yemen. The people of Yemen desperately need humanitarian help, not more bombs. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi said Trump has cynically chosen to contravene a bipartisan bicameral vote of Congress. She also said, this conflict must end now. The House of Representatives calls on the president to put peace before politics and work with us to advance an enduring solution to end this crisis and save lives. So credit to Nancy Pelosi on this one. That is not credit that she gets often from me. But on this issue, she's on the right side. And so were those Republicans as well, including Mike Lee. Now, Senator Chris Murphy also condemned the move as a huge mistake, saying the civil war in Yemen is a humanitarian crisis and we have no business still being a part of it. I've been calling on the United States to get out of the civil war in Yemen for the last 4 years, and this veto won't stop me. So, now look, it's strong words, but unless you get more Republicans on your side to override a presidential veto, then unfortunately it stands. So, now, what's interesting about this story is some pro-Trump right-wingers, right, that are pushing back against this. One of them is an influencer named Cassandra Fairbanks. Now, she's famously noted as being a former Bernie Sanders person who switched over to supporting Donald Trump and supports, Julian Assange, WikiLeaks, etc. Now, she said this, you should pray God forgives you for this horror show in Yemen. And also, I'm kind of depressed Trump didn't drain the swamp. He hired it. Hashtag Yemen. Hashtag Julian Assange. So now that, again, I think that's in reference to John Bolton and Mike Pompeo, who are some of the biggest warmongers, neocons in the Trump White House. Look, I hate to say it, but man, I told you so. I told you this was going to happen. I know nobody believed us when we said, oh no, Trump only cares about himself. He's not actually an anti-war president. No, he's going to start wars or he's going to continue wars because he doesn't actually care. He doesn't care about being pro-peace. And in fact, war makes him look stronger. And look, you guys remember how the media, when he launched those attacks in Syria, the missile attacks on that Syrian airfield, what the media did in response. Come on, I think you had Tom, I forget his name. I don't want to get it wrong, right? But there was a journalist, supposed journalist, on, I think it was NBC News, who called the missiles beautiful. Numerous articles written about how this is the day that Trump became presidential, when he started launching missiles. We told you this was going to happen. And as far as Assange goes, you guys know how I feel about Assange. I'm not a fan of the guy because of his personal beliefs, but I believe that going after him in the way that they went after him, especially the Trump administration, but also by extension the Obama administration, who had started this first, not in favor of the way. And I think it harms press freedom going after Assange and WikiLeaks, especially when WikiLeaks had an incredible role is exposing war crimes for the United States. Donald Trump has shown he doesn't care about war crimes and that he's willing to continue to allow Saudi Arabia to continue war crimes. And it was Brian Williams, by the way. It was Brian Williams that said that. And it's disgusting. Now, on Assange, of course, once he stopped being useful to Donald Trump, he threw him under the bus. WikiLeaks, I don't know anything about WikiLeaks. You can go back and you can look at all that video of Trump talking about, look at the WikiLeaks. Look at the WikiLeaks. Well, when they were against Hillary Clinton, he loved WikiLeaks. And now they're no longer useful. I don't know anything about WikiLeaks. So, look, I know you guys were angry about Hillary Clinton, right? And I know she would have been terrible on Assange. She admitted to wanting to drone him. Why can't we just drone him? Well, that's horrible. But the fact is that 2016 was awful. We had no good choices. Oh, but Jeff, what about Jill Stein? Look, those of you who voted for Jill Stein, you guys knew she wasn't going to win. You guys knew that. I'm like, let's be honest about this, right? That's why it was a protest vote. I don't have any problem with that. I mean, that's why you said, I'm voting for my principal. You knew she wasn't going to win anyway. And yeah, we all kind of knew. Unfortunately, our two-party system is horrible. And it needs to go away. It needs to get fixed, right? So that we can actually have third parties that are viable. But we were stuck with two pro-war candidates. I don't blame you at all for going in another direction. Now, the difference is here is that for people like Cassandra, she fell for the lies. Trump was much more shameless about lying about his positions, especially when it comes to being anti-war. Oh no, I love the WikiLeaks. I hate the wars in the Middle East. We got to stop those. Except now that I bombed Syria and I'm supporting the brutal regime in Saudi Arabia. No, the guy's a pathological liar. Never been on your side. He's always been for himself and he always will be. And this is gross. I don't give Congress a lot of credit, especially when it comes to bipartisanship. But in this legislation, Congress actually did something right. They were led by progressives like Ro Khanna and Bernie Sanders, and they were actually able to unite the anti-war left and anti-war right against that horrific conflict, and yet Trump decides to kill it. Because A, he has financial interest in Saudi Arabia, let's be honest about that, and B, he doesn't want anybody challenging his authority. Trump is a monster. And now, at least you guys are starting to understand that. And the blood of innocent Yemenis who are going to die going forward is now on Trump's hands. Okay. We'll come back. We've got more stuff here on Trump, including Ilhan Omar. So we'll be right back. Stay right here around the nation. Hey everybody, welcome back to the show. Run the Nation right here. Jeff Waldorf here with you. Okay, so I want to read a comment here before or a couple of comments here. Apparently some of you are thinking I said something that I didn't say, so let me just correct the record here. But first, Elder Davis says the Green Party is the only left-wing party in the U.S., which is sad because I wish they would have more traction. I really do. But unfortunately, our system is stacked against them, massively so, and we need to change that system. Tia Wheeler says, I have to disagree with you. Jill Stein was the candidate that was most qualified of the four. Well, Tia, I love you, but I didn't say anything about her qualifications. Nothing that I said that she was unqualified, just said that she wasn't going to be able to win. Why do I say that? It's because of the system. The system is massively stacked against independents, or I should say people who run independent on a national stage, and for third-party candidates. The system is the problem. So it's not the people, I don't have anything against Jill Stein. You guys know I've defended Jill Stein on the show before. I'm just saying, you guys knew that this system is so bad that she was never going to win, that she didn't have a chance. That's an indictment of the system. We need to change that and actually have a better system so that we can have third-party candidates that actually have a chance to win in a contest and not have to join the two-party system. I'm definitely in favor of getting rid of the two-party duopoly. So understand what I'm saying, please. So anyway, let's see. Is there any more here? Comments that I should say about that? Yeah, the system is rigged. Absolutely. Yes, and it is rigged by design. Thank you, Eldridge Davis. I agree with that. You are absolutely correct. They have set it up, the system, in a way that discourages third-party votes. And, of course, it's also set up in a way that if you do vote third-party, you end up getting blamed for it when we have a terrible, result, which is what we had in 2016. So, anyway, again, I'm just trying to be clear on all this stuff. And because, I don't want people taking away something that I didn't actually say. And finally, Eldridge Davis did say on Brian Williams, man, you're killing it today, Eldridge. Brian Williams, who was not fired for lying about being under attack while on a helicopter reporting overseas. That effing S-bag. Oh, I love it. Brian Williams. Ugh. Crazy. For some reason, I was going to say someone else, so I'm glad I didn't. Because I wasn't sure. It was hard for me to remember. But anyway. Okay. Moving on. We got a couple more stories here. Let's go to Ilhan Omar. Okay. No, that's new. Okay. Now, President Trump continues his attacks against Representative Ilhan Omar and is also spreading misinformation, despite her noting an increase in death threats from his followers. So now, Ilhan Omar, of course, is the first, not the first, but she is a Muslim member of Congress, and she is getting a lot of death threats, been getting a lot of heat from right-wing media over some things that were, I guess they had problems with her saying, and we'll get into that, of course. But in an interview with KSTP-TV in Minneapolis, Donald Trump, the president, was asked if he had any second thoughts about his attacks against Ilhan Omar, specifically posting a video to Twitter that basically put in some quotes from the Congresswoman with images of 9/11. So it's a very dishonest editing tactic they use to try to make her look terrible. Now, his response was, quote, "No, not at all. Look, she's been very disrespectful to this country, and she's been very disrespectful to Israel. She is somebody who doesn't really understand life, real life, what it's all about." Wait, what? I don't understand life. You're saying you understand life more? You were given hundreds of millions of dollars in inheritance money, and you blew it all. Look, you crashed casinos into the ground. You've never lived a day in the life of someone. And to say that you know more about life than as someone who grew up as a refugee, fleeing war and violence, came to America, and then worked her way up to be a congresswoman. BS, man. BS. Talk about disrespectful, right? Does he even understand words? Do they understand that there's a meaning to these words? No, of course not. Now he continues to attack her. Quote, "It's unfortunate she's got a way about her that is very, very bad. I think for our country, I think she is extremely unpatriotic and extremely disrespectful to our country." Now, I've got two guesses to why he thinks she's very, very bad for the country. The fact that she openly wears a hijab, or as Janine Pirro, thank you, as Janine Pirro would always say, the hijab. Her voice is like nails on a chalkboard, man. And of course, the fact that she is a young woman of color. And so he looks at that and says, "Ooh, very, very bad for America. Very bad. Very bad. And very bad for our country. And extremely unpatriotic." No, in reality, she's incredibly patriotic. Again, refugee who came to this country felt the call to serve in government. She felt the call to serve and fight for civil rights. That is the most American thing that you can do. Heed the call. Serve. Serve the public. Fight for civil rights. She is way more American than Donald Trump. And her statements, the one that the right wing has been all after, they've been tagged as horrible and anti-American and whatever, happened at a fundraiser for the Council on American Islamic Relations. You know what she said? Quote, she said the organization, quote, was founded after 9/11 because they recognized that some people did something and that all of us were starting to lose access to our civil liberties. Now, apparently, since she didn't say, 9/11 is the worst thing that happened to us in the entire world, and look, I'm not minimizing it. It was an incredibly horrible attack. But just the fact that I have to go and say that just shows how some people can use that against you when you don't continuously say, but it was horrible, it was horrible, it was horrible. Yes, we understand it's horrible. We know. Why do we have to continue to qualify that? And so, but look, even I ended up having to do that. And so now, for me, look, it can be forgiven because I'm a white guy, right? But you have a Muslim who wears the hijab and, is a woman of color. She says that, and then she's going to have death threats against her, and that's exactly what's happened. And so, she's right, though. Some people did something. That's what everybody's talking about. Yes, it's true. They did do something. It was horrible. Her perspective, though, was, look, I'm a Muslim. I'm a Muslim American. And after that happened, that terrible thing that we had nothing to do with, people went after us and tried to come after our civil liberties. They attacked us for no reason. Now, look, Muslims died on 9/11. You know what? People died inside the Twin Towers that were also Muslim. You know, these people were forgotten, but I've got some names for you. Shabir Ahmed, who worked at one of the restaurants, the Windows in the World. Tariq Amanullah, Fiduciary Trust Company, that's what he worked for. That was inside all these places, jobs were inside the Twin Towers when they were hit. Michael Bosch, Martian McLennan, Tori Hamzavi Balochi, 69, a retired nurse on United Flight 175. Abdul K. Chaudhuri, Kantar Fitzgerald. Mohammed Salahuddin Chaudhuri, Windows on the World restaurant. Jamal Lagasse DeSantis, World Trade Center. Simon Suleiman Ali Kasamali Dahani, 63, Aon Corp. Syed Abdul Fattah, 54, Pitney Bowes. Manjabalish, who was a janitor at the World Trade Center. All of these people that I'm reading off were victims in 9/11. And many of their families were victimized again by the anti-Muslim sentiment stoked by the right wing. And Muslim Americans, unfortunately, they continue to be victimized. Omar is just the most public face of this, right? Because she has been openly smeared by the right wing as not caring about 9/11, about terrorism. And again, she's being attacked for every single statement. It's disgusting. Now, she released a statement on Sunday evening talking about this Trump video that has increased the amount of death threats coming her way. Quote, since the president's tweet Friday evening, I've experienced an increase in direct threats in my life, many directly referencing or replying to the president's video. I thank the Capitol Police, the FBI, the House Sergeant at Arms, and the Speaker of the House for their attention to these threats. And yet, here you have the president having no apologies and continuing to demonize her as un-American and stoking the fires of hatred. This is dangerous. It's going to get someone hurt. Somebody already attempted to have an attempt on Omar's life that were busted by Capitol Police. Either that or it was in New York. It's been a lot of terrorist attacks here in America. And guess what? None of them are from Muslims. They're all from the extreme right wing. And President Trump continues to fuel those attacks, to fuel that hatred and division. And he's not sorry about it. That's who Trump is. He's a monstrous person. Okay. I think we'll... All right, I'll try to do this story real quick. See if I can get it right. So yesterday, the Cathedral of Notre Dame was unfortunately caught on fire. And so, hey, it's okay. They saved the building and the fire's out and all that stuff now. And actually, there's a lot of very, very rich donors that have already donated to try and fix that building. Now, whether you agree with that or not, I actually think that money should go somewhere else and actually help regular people. But that's just me. Nonetheless, Ted Cruz is now getting slammed on Twitter for making an absurd suggestion on some of the pledges that came in to help fix this ancient cathedral. And one of those donors was Disney. Now, they pledged $5 million to help fix this. And Cruz decided to make a joke saying, will we see Disney princesses on the new stained glass? Wait, what? No, that's weird. Now, again, there are some fun responses to this. We'll start with Betsy Klein. Said, did a Cruz daughter hack this account? Well, that would make more sense. McLovin says, Ted Cruz proof that no matter how stupid you are, Texans will vote you into office and keep you there. Others still noted that the stained glass does not appear to have been harmed in the fire, so unfortunately we will not get Disney princesses, which would actually be kind of cool and kind of better. Mate Chavez-Pena says, the stained glass seems to have not been damaged, no need to replace. Aaron Ekman says, the stained glass survived, and I predict you'll delete this tweet. Survivor says, you are just pure evil. That's fun. Asawin Subasang says, I think this is a weird joke, but this would actually be funny as hell. They should do this. Add the pagan Disney queens. Yes. Yes. Do it. Death Metal Barbershop Quartet says, Cruz bot humor protocols, failing worse than normal parameters. IBDG Rich says, glares in Catholic. Ken Klippenstein says, isn't farming out government responsibilities to private corporations your whole thing? Now, that's an interesting point, especially since there's all these weird corporations that are now saying, oh, no, don't worry, we will donate to this cause. You realize Puerto Rico parts still don't have power, right? Oh, no. And that's, of course, in response to the Trump administration also pledging money. We can't fix Flint. We can't fix Puerto Rico, but we can donate money to this, cathedral. Why? Why would we do that? It makes no sense. But, whatever. The cat ate my Mueller report. Shelley says, I don't know, but your face would make a good gargoyle. Fun. Olivia says, crappy politician, crappy comedian. David Slavic says, this is the grossest tweet we've ever seen on this site. I think I'll beg to differ on that one. I've seen worse. And finally, Wallace Milner says, I love when conservatives get so mad about their weird culture war grievances, they start accidentally making Marxist arguments against privatization. Fun. The internet, man, it never stops delivering. Awesome. Okay. That's it. That's all I got for you guys today. Thank you for going around the nation with me. I can't wait to show you guys the camera on Friday. That's going to be awesome. Good Friday indeed. And so, all right, guys, thank you so much. Patreon.com/TYTNation. Please subscribe to this channel for more fun stuff, and we'll see you guys tomorrow around the nation.